Yo, quick little intro. We're gonna be doing an interview real quick that I had saved from earlier this month. So let's get right into it. It's with S Hoops. We'll be back at the 23-minute marker because it is a 23-minute interview. So let's get right into it. Hope you guys do enjoy. Lego.
It's like 11 o'clock, but I'm
No
here
worries.
with S Hoops YouTube. Got his information in the description, and we're going to straight up talk New York basketball. This has probably been an exciting year for you, especially.
Oh, yeah.
It went from being kind of like didn't look too good to now it's looking, hey, they could make a run. So, first things first, I'll admit I'm not ready to call this team a contender. I think if they make the right moves this offseason, next season they could be contenders. What is the ceiling? What's the best expectations for this team for the rest of the season if they don't win a championship? And what's the worst thing that could happen, in your opinion?
All right. So right now, I wouldn't consider us contenders either. We're nowhere close to being contenders this season, at least. So for the last couple of games, we've been out with Jalen Brunson, who I would say is the soul, the heart of the team. I want to say he should have been an all-star. I'm not gonna say who shouldn't have been an all-star and who should have been, but I'm just gonna say Jalen Brunson should have been an all-star. But without him, we kind of been in a funk. We haven't really been, as our offense hasn't really been as great as it could have been and it should be. But for the rest of this season, I would say that I think we're maybe a second round exit. Maybe it depends on the matchup. I would say depending on the matchup, we could get to a second round. But if I'm being realistic with everything, my expectations, if we make it out of the first round, I'm happy. But if we don't, I'm still happy. Just playoff basketball for the New York Knicks. For 2 years. I'm content.
So with that, I understand that completely. I see this team second round. I feel like they could make it out the first round unless they get screwed with like a really tough matchup. But right now, the way that it looks, I believe with the Knicks' current standing, I don't want to say anything wrong. So they're the 6th seed. So right now they would be playing the 76ers. So that could be a really tough matchup. But let's say if they play the Cavs, you know what I mean? That could be a little bit different. Or if they play, if it's the Nets, if they like switch spots with the Nets and they end up playing the 4th seed, I think the Cavs is a better matchup than the Sixers. But I agree. Yeah. I think this is a really good build. Like I think they have a core for once. Do you think with Brunson Randall, who I said this on our NBA show earlier, do you think this offseason with the RJ Barrett contract, you try to maybe look for a guy that RJ Barrett could be used to be traded for? Like, let's say if the Clippers were blowing it up, do you trade RJ Barrett for a guy like Paul George?
I do think that the RJ Barrett contract was given for it to be traded. I don't think RJ Barrett is going to be here after this offseason. Now, if you're asking me if we should trade RJ Barrett for a Paul George, I'm the biggest Paul George fan in the world. I love him, love his game. Been watching him since I played basketball, since I started watching basketball. But, Paul George, I just don't think we should trade RJ Barrett for him. Not saying that Paul George isn't an elite player, because he still is. He can still give you 30 on any given night. But, he recently came out and said that he doesn't consider himself a first option. Considers himself a second option. And if we're trading RJ Barrett, we're also going to have to give up picks, at least 2 or 3. And somebody that doesn't consider themselves a first option, I'm not really for it. There's better targets we could go after, hopefully. Like, maybe Jalen Brunson if the Celtics don't work out, just throwing that out in the air. Hopefully,
Jalen Brown.
One day. Jalen Brown. Maybe one day if the Celtics, miss the playoffs, whoever knows what happens. But not Paul George. I love Paul George, but not RJ Barrett for Paul George. I just can't get behind that.
You kind of mentioned it there. Who's the guy that you think they should trade RJ Barrett? You said it right there. You want a number 1, so I think that rules out a guy like OG Anunoby, who we know they're interested in. Who's the guy that maybe – is that a Zach LaVine, or do you want a guy who plays defense or at least tries on defense?
See, it's funny that you mentioned Zach LaVine. I think the front office is looking at Zach LaVine heavily. There's been reports and rumors that we almost traded for Zach LaVine at the deadline this season. But I personally don't want Zach LaVine. He has all the tools to be an elite player, and he's played at a very good level. But there's just something missing with Zach LaVine. His knees are a big issue as well. I think he's 26, 27 maybe. So he's also getting there up in age as well. And he's also not a defender, which in a Tom Thibodeau situation, when you need defenders and your best player that you traded a lot for can't play defense, and we already got Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Yeah, that's not a Tibbs system. That's not a recipe to win for Tibbs.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm pretty sure, was Tibbs still coach when – I don't think Tibbs was coach when Zach LaVine was traded, right? Tibbs was already gone because he was the coach of the Timberwolves when the Timberwolves – I don't know if Tibbs ever coached –
No, he did.
He did coach him in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
In Minnesota.
He was the one that traded Zach LaVine as well.
Yeah,
he was also executive. He was a GM or executive at the time as well for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, so Tibbs already knows Zach LaVine. So
yeah.
Okay, so that brings out, I think it's, and this is something I brought up. We don't, the one guy that I think maybe if they could do a sign and trade for, Chris Middleton. There's been rumors that Chris Middleton, but do you believe Chris Middleton's at number one? Will he be healthy? And that's where it's hard. I don't think anyone this coming offseason is going to be available for RJ Barrett or for the Knicks to trade for a number one. I think that's, like you said, during the Jaylen Brown free agency next offseason.
Yeah. Chris Middleton. Has he even been healthy this season? He's played how many games? I think he's played like 20, 25 maybe. It's not a lot. And he's also, 33 now? 32, 33?
Yeah, 31, and he's only played 24 games.
Jesus. Yeah. And I don't think he's one option either.
Yeah, and he's only played like 65 games the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Each year. Yeah, I guess if you can get him cheap.
But his contract, though, isn't he like 25, 30 million maybe?
He's expiring, but he wants 40.
He?
Yeah, and he's going into free agency, but he wants 40 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Pass.
So with that being said, who do you expect to be gone from this roster? We assume that Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose are the two main candidates because we assume the core for next year they're going to try to bring back Josh Hart. They're going to, they want to keep Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle. Is Obi Toppin looking like he's going to go on? Are they going to be able to keep Emmanuel Quickly because he's going to want a fat contract? And are they going to be able to pay him?
So I definitely think they're going to try bringing back Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, and Josh Hart. I think those are three main factors of this team going forward. And, it's not just because they want him back, but I also think that Emmanuel Quickly is a hot commodity amongst other teams. There's been reports or rumors from B reporters and outlets in general where teams are willing to offer first-round picks for Emmanuel Quickly. Josh Hart, we just got back, and I don't think the intent was for us to trade a first-round pick for him and just, be a half a season rental. So I definitely think Josh Hart is going to be back. Emmanuel Quickly is going to be back. And Quentin Grimes, I think we picked up his option, so he's still here for another 2 seasons before we have to pay him. He's in his second season right now. He's a first-round pick, so we still got 2 years of team option on him. But when it comes to Obi Toppin, I don't think Obi Toppin's going to be on this team next season. I think he's going to be involved in maybe the RJ Barrett deal or maybe just a deal. I think we're going to pick up his option and trade him, but I don't think he's going to be here next year.
Yeah, and the thing is some nights Obi Toppin, I'll be like, yes, Obi, you're doing what we need you to do. Be this guy who could shoot 3-pointers, finish in transition, especially on the fast break, and then try on defense. Like, we know you have your limitations on defense, but at least try and be like this multi. And then other games, he's just standing there. And you're just like, oh, Obi. Like, what's the problem with Obi Toppin? Like, why? Is it Tom Thibodeau?
I think it's a little bit of both. See, Tom Thibodeau is not really using Obi Toppin to the best of his abilities. And plus, he's only playing 15 minutes a game, 12 to 15 minutes. So it's very
for his whole career. His whole career.
Yeah. and as an 8th overall pick, only playing 12 to 15 minutes for 3 years of your first couple years in NBA, where you're looking to show out and earn that second contract, which Obi Toppin is not going to get a big contract for his second contract. And, he maybe get maybe 1-2 year deals for the rest of his career. Who knows? But I think with Obi Toppin, the biggest issue is his defense. That's the biggest reason why he's not on the court in a Tom Thibodeau situation, is because of he's not laterally quick and his high hips. Those are two terrible things when it comes to defense and being able to play help defense in general. And in Tom Thibodeau system, when you can't do both of those and you're not a good rim protector either, because we've tried small ball five lineups with Randall playing the 5, Obi at the 4, and it hasn't worked out. And I think the biggest problem is there's not a lot of minutes to go around. There's a lot far better options on the team. Josh Hart can play the 4 in some situations. You could switch around to the 5. I think there's just a lot better talent that helps the Knicks and what they're trying to do. And Obi Toppin is just not one of those guys.
That makes sense. And like you said, maybe Obi's with the RJ deal, but I know Derrick Rose has a team option that we expect that to be declined and they let him just walk in free agency. But Evan Fournier, how hard is it going to be to trade that contract? Is that, you think, where they would use Obi, where they're like, here's Obi Toppin and Evan Fournier and maybe a second round pick or something? Like, I assume they're going to try to get rid of Evan Fournier if possible.
I think Evan Fournier is on a 1+1 deal now after the season, which makes it a lot more friendlier to a team, because essentially he's basically a 1 year rental, basically, because you don't have to pick up his team option no more. So I think that definitely sweetens the pot, and you throw in a sweetener like Obi Toppin, a young player that can in the right situation can be a backup for the rest of his career, giving you a solid 10 to 12 points, just be a highlight energy guy off the bench. And I think that would work perfectly fine for a team.
Like Utah.
Like a Utah, Pistons. There's a lot of young teams that could use a guy like Obi Toppin, an energy 4 off the bench. And, Evan Fournier, he's a knockdown 3-point shooter, 39%, 38% from the 3-point line. Some team is definitely going to use him in the right situation. And especially with this deal, about to be over, I think in the next season or two, he's definitely going to be a hot commodity once that contract goes down to like $12-13 million.
I like you just said, I could see a team like the Pistons or the Jazz be like, look, we'll take Evan Fournier and Obi Toppin. We really want Obi Toppin, but what we see with Evan Fournier is like Bojan Bogdanovic, where we'll let Evan Fournier play 30 minutes a night and he'll shoot 40% from 3, look really good. Then when trade deadline comes around,
ship him out.
Yep. We call up contending teams. They're like, you guys want Evan Fournier? You only have to he's a half-season rental. We only want a heavily protected first or a couple seconds. You can have Evan Fournier. We just wanted Obi. We just let Evan Fournier have the green light, shoot as many threes, and just rebuild his trade value.
Yep. That would be a perfect situation for some rebuilding team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, let's say if the Pistons on draft night trade Bojan, and then they're like, oh, we want another version of Bojan. We'll do the Evan Fournier deal, Yeah. And yeah, no, that's really interesting. So with the Knicks, what are the positions that need to be addressed? I assume, obviously, we talked about having a number 1 guy, a takeover guy. That's why they wanted Donovan Mitchell. They wanted a Donovan Mitchell. We've talked about that already. But let's say besides that, what are the positions? We assume it's depth. They need to build up their depth. How would you go? Do you go veterans? Do you go to draft? What do you think is the best way to build this team's bench up?
So when we're talking about positions, I think with the RJ Barrett trade, I think we're going to need a 3. We're going to need a very versatile 3, and whoever may that be. But in terms of backups, with Obi Toppin, I don't think he's going to be here after the season. So we're going to need a backup 4. And Emmanuel Quickly is the backup 1. Deuce could play the backup 2 or vice versa. Josh Hart. You got Isaiah Hardenstein. Yeah, I think the biggest need off the bench would be a backup 4 and the starting 3 with the RJ Barrett trade and whoever that may be. And I think the way to acquire it, me personally, I want us to go in the draft because we have 2 picks that we potentially have 2 picks with the Mavericks picks who are losing. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and their pick is at 15 right now. And if we get it at 11, oh boy, we're cooking with gas. And then the Wizards is a top 14 pick, but they're only, I believe, they're only 1 game out of the from being out of the lottery. So anything can happen if we get 2 picks right outside of the lottery. Trade that up to maybe like the 10th, 11th pick, and we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think the one thing I look at this team with Quickly and McBride, Deuce is more of a traditional defensive point guard, Javon Carter type guy, real good defense, 3-point shooting, a little bit of passing, going to be a backup for most of his career. Great player, player. Emmanuel Quickly, I think he's more of an undersized shooting guard, combo guard than pure point guard. Like I wouldn't say that you want Emmanuel Quickly facilitating the offense for 35, 40 minutes a night. You're cool with him being like, the secondary guy next to like a guy like Jalen Brunson, So I would think, obviously in free agency would be cool. I think DeLon Wright's locked up, but getting a defensive guy like a DeLon Wright would be cool. Or in the draft, like you said, if they could get a good pick like Kassan Wallace from, I think. Kassan. Is it Kentucky or Duke?
Kentucky. I think he's Kentucky.
Yeah. He screams Tom Thibodeau. Defense guy, 3-point shot, 6'4". Imagine him backing up Jalen Brunson. I would love that.
He's what I think Deuce McBride was supposed to be. The undersized, but Deuce McBride is more undersized. But Kassan Wallace is. I think he's gonna be super nice.
When I was doing my pre-draft stuff for him, I was looking at him and I was like, he just looks like he should be in a Tom Thibodeau Knicks jersey, the way he plays. And in free agency, I really think, you look out there if they can get a backup for. I don't know what's, I feel like if they can get a guy, obviously PJ Tucker's locked up and I don't want him. PJ Tucker's old, but PJ Tucker, Jayshawn Tate, Royce O'Neal, Jay Crowder. I think if they can get a backup power forward to replace Obi Toppin along that guy, imagine like when Julius Randle comes off the floor, they have Jay Crowder come in. That would be nice.
That would be solid. Just it opens up the floor for guys like Emmanuel Quickly as well, because Obi Toppin, he has his spurts when he can shoot the ball very well. He had spurts where in the 8-game stretch he shot like 15 for 20 from the 3-point line, which was phenomenal. But then he also has spurts where he goes 1 for 8, and there's questions there. But I think definitely with a Drake Crowder type player, we would be cooking with gas. It would take our defense to a next level. And then in some situations, Drake Crowder can start and we can close out, with him. So I think that's the versatility that we need at the backup forward that can maybe, start and close for us, like a Josh Hart, who is a backup, but he's closing for us right now, and he's giving us very, very good minutes.
Yeah, and people don't realize Josh Hart's also like ball handling and creating. Like there's moments where he's like being the team's backup point guard when since Jalen Brunson's been out and Quickly's off the floor, they'll have Josh Hart bring the ball up the court and initiate the plays. So I think that's something cool. Do you think this offseason is the most important Knicks offseason, or is it going to be next year in 2024 for them to set themselves up into a championship window?
See, I think it's going to be this offseason because we had the same situation, in a similar situation with the 4th seed in 2021, I believe, 2 years ago, where, we performed above expectations and, we were looking like a team that was going to make big moves. But then in the offseason, we got guys like Derrick Rose, Evan Fournier, Nerlens Noel that were at the time looked at good contracts and flippable pieces that we could trade down the line. But, as the year progressed, Nerlens Noel was looked at as a decent contract. Evan Fournier was looked at a bad contract. Derrick Rose is not playing anymore. So I think both of these seasons, but if I really had to put it on the mark and say which one I think is more important, I think I want to see what Leon Rose does this offseason. Because we know there's not a superstar to trade for or to trade for or sign this offseason. So what are the pieces that Leon Rose is going to acquire that we can potentially use for that superstar in the offseason, next offseason, or in the trade deadline?
And my last question, what is one thing you would like Knicks fans to take away from this season going forward?
The one thing I would say is, just enjoy the season, enjoy the ride, enjoy Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle has his ups and downs, but he's been phenomenal. RJ Barrett, you're gonna get a little bit of inconsistency, but I think the biggest takeaway I want to is just enjoy. We missed the playoffs last season, and we hated it. So this season, when we're in the playoffs, we're playing very good basketball. We're playing very well. So why not just enjoy the ride and see how far it goes, and then you regroup, you review, and then you go on with the next step.
All right, that makes sense. And actual last question: how would you say the pecking order of this team is? Is Jalen Brunson the number one, then Julius Randle, and then is it Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, or
it's RJ? RJ is the third option.
RJ.
I mean, it depends on a given night, but if you look at usage wise, RJ Barrett is a third option, but there's some games where RJ Barrett is benched very quickly and he plays 25 minutes at most, and then Emmanuel Quickly, it has been the third option a lot recently.
Is RJ a bust or has he just underwhelmed?
No, I don't think he's a bust. I think he's definitely been very underwhelming as a third overall pick. But I wouldn't say a bust. For me, a bust is somebody that doesn't finish off their rookie contract and out of the league. So I wouldn't consider him a bust, but he's definitely underwhelming. But I definitely think he has a 10-plus year long career in the NBA.
He's just like, I talked about this with my friend. If he was drafted 14th overall instead of third, no one would be mad. Everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, he's developed well." But everyone's, because he was drafted third overall, everyone's. Even if he was drafted where Cam Reddish was drafted, 9 or 10, people wouldn't be mad.
11th, I believe.
11.
Drafted 11th. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because he was top 5.
But he was also drafted right after Zion and Ja.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are very big expectations to live up to. You got 2 superstars. A highlight. Both are highlight reels on any given night. They'll dunk on you. Amazing. And when you look at RJ Barrett, nothing about his game screams, that's fun. That's amazing. There's something to look forward to watch him play. There's none of that. He has no go-to moves. He's not. He's taking a step back on defense. His playmaking is average at best. He has no go-to moves. When you look at RJ Barrett, you look at he's an all right player. He's gonna do some good stuff. He's gonna do some bad stuff, but he's an okay player.
Yeah, not a difference maker.
Yeah.
All right. S Hoops, buddy. I can't wait to see you get back on the grind. Thank you for coming on.
Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Life is busy. Life throws you curveballs. It's just.
Hey, but you've been going crazy on the YouTube. 4 uploads a day. I see you, and live shows some days. You've been going crazy.
Yeah, just working, man. Just working. Getting older. Man. Just trying to do. And we're here. Can you hear me, Jackson? I don't know if I can hear you, but I think you're muted. Unmute your mic, bitch. Can you hear me? But here we are today. That was a little interview from the NBA, from a interview with S Hoops. I'll put his information down below. And I would also love to see OG Anunoby. He might not be a number 1 fit, but it would be a nice addition. All right. And with that being said, I think it's definitely something interesting as hell. It was a little pre-recorded. Our boy S Hoops was not going to wake up at 9 in the morning Eastern time. So I recorded that about 2 weeks ago, and I kind of completely forgot about it. And then I remembered this morning, and I was like, I should either play this as a pre-record or post this on my channel. And then I was like, you know what, this is probably better if I just use it as a pre-record just to test it out, because we've been wanting to test out pre-records, because an 8 a.m. show is hard to convince people to come on for an interview, because most people don't want to fucking talk at 8 in the morning. You hear me, Jackson?
Yes.
How was your weekend, buddy?
It's good. How about you?
What's your chain of? Is that like a hanger?
A hanger?
Yeah. Is that
a fucking hanger? It's a heart.
Oh, okay. It was sideways. So from the side, I thought you had like a coat hanger. That's like your.
Yeah, it's my drip. Drip
Yeah.
out.
All right, so let's talk real quickly. I think we obviously have to address it. It happened this weekend. The NBA signed a new collective bargaining agreement. What was your initial reactions? Have you read into it?
Yeah, it's what happens next? The players, don't they have to vote?
Yeah,
on
so
it?
it's a tentative agreement. So this is an agreement between just the player association and the NBA. With that being said, it now has to be ratified by not only the players, I believe isn't it also like the I think it's just the players, and there's one other group of body that has to vote on it. But yeah, it has to be voted on now.
Yeah,
But basically it's agreed on. The assumption is they agreed on this because they assume the players will agree on it.
and I don't think that happens. I'm not. It would be nice to have actually Lawyer Luke on for this segment. Some takeaways I like. Do you want to summarize it? I'm not great with summarization. They cut the way I read the gist of it is that I don't know if penalization is the right word, but it seems almost like they're trying to create more parity between the league.
So let me break this all down. Okay, super teams. So there's going to be a thing called the upper spending limit that the NBA I'm not going to use that word, but enthusiastically was trying to get, and then the NBA PA was like, yo, if you create an upper spending limit cap, like a hard salary cap, we're gonna go to an NBA lockout. So they just said, fuck it, we're not doing that. Same thing happened with the NBA draft age. NBA draft age not changing because the NBA PA was like, you're gonna get rid of our vets. We don't want to lose vets. And so with that being said, the NBA was like, yeah, with NIL, overtime elite, with the NBL in Australia and the G League, there's so many options for these guys now. There's no need to change the draft age. Those are the first two things. Now, mid-level exceptions. If you're in the luxury tax, goodbye. Danilo Gallinari, John Wall to the Clippers. Another example was, I'm trying to think, just basically where you've seen like teams, I think PJ Tucker was another example, basically where these contending teams were able to go in and get guys under the mid-level exception cap. Yeah, if you're spending too much money, you don't have a mid-level exception. They've removed it. And I had a great graphic earlier or a great article that I read earlier that explained it all down. NBA players can invest in NBA, WNBA teams, sport betting companies, and cannabis. Marijuana is officially off the drug testing, even though marijuana has not been tested since 2019. So let me read every single thing right here. Shout out Mike Virkanov and Shams Charania. The NBA and the National Basketball Players Association reached a tentative deal on a new collective bargaining agreement in the early hours of Saturday morning. The deal still needs to be ratified by players and team governors. That's the other one. I said it was players and there was one other. It's team governors, which are basically like the CEO, aka another name for owners. Or like sometimes the owners aren't the team governors. They like assign out somebody that, who wants to be involved on a daily basis. So it's a 7-year deal. Here's the most important things. NBA players are allowed to invest in NBA, WNBA teams, cannabis, and sports betting teams via an NBA Player Association selected private equity firm. So they're not going to be going out and doing this on their own. They have to hit up, the equity firm that has been selected by the NBA. The players will also have the ability to promote and invest in betting and cannabis. So on their stories, they can go bet on BetMGM or go buy weed from Green Dragon. NBA players will no longer be penalized for using marijuana under an agreement that has been removed. This has been since 2019, but it's officially in language now. Players must play at least 65 games to be eligible for major individual league awards such as MVP. We've talked about this would be a thing that would happen. I personally thought it should be tied to minutes, not games played. Prize money for the championship team of the NBA's in-season tournament beginning this coming season, 2023 to 2024. And if you win, each player gets $500,000. Players attending the NBA Combine will be required to undergo physical exams that will be distributed to select teams based on player projections. Veteran extension limits will increase from 120 to 140%, which will add flexibility and have significant
effects quickly. Under the current CBA, teams and players can only increase player salaries by 120% in the first new year of an extension unless the player qualifies as a designated player rookie by making an All-NBA team or makes well below the league's average salary. That means if Jaylen Brown weren't to make an All-NBA team, currently he would make like 4 years, 161. Now he makes like 4 years, 181 if the Celtics were to resign him. And the last thing, the new CBA adds a second tax apron. When reached, will eliminate a team's taxpayer mid-level exception and gives the team a third two-way contract via cap exception. The CBA will also create a new second-round exception that can be used, so teams will no longer need to dip into the mid-level exception to sign second-rounders. What is your initial thoughts on all that? I know it was a lot of information, but that was basically everything going on with, the NBA.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I like in there. I wasn't even aware of the mid-level exemption. I do like the owners not being able to send picks 7 years advanced if they are over the luxury, I believe is what it is.
Is that actually one of the things? Is that like one of the caveats? I didn't read that. So
I believe that's one of the caveats where basically like you'll have an owner come in and it's like, okay, if I'm the GM right now and I'm only, I want to be there for like 3 more years, what is the point of me? Exactly. What is the point of me? Maybe not the Suns, but maybe more of like, Bob Myers, if he was going to stay for like 2 more years, it'd be like, well, if I want to win and I want to win now, what the hell is the point of any pick past my tenure? Like I want to win now. So it's just, I don't mind that. The weed thing is cool. Sports betting is probably the worst idea I've ever seen with this. I think that is a recipe for disaster. Players already bet. Like players bet. There are players on NBA teams that bet already, and now legally you can do it. I think that is a huge
I don't think
recipe
they legally
for disaster.
can. I don't know if the league. I don't know if that allows them to bet. I tweeted that there hasn't been a clarification if NBA players are allowed to bet. They are allowed to invest and promote sports betting, but I don't know a lot about betting. I do agree it creates a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah, it's a little slippy. I think it's a little too slippery on the slope here, but
it's suspect. It's suspect. Thomas Perry said it's a bit suspect. It's weird. It's weird. As fans, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of it.
Do we find it weird because our whole lives we've been told that betting is this whole like, what do you call it? What's the right phrase? Voodoo, like, oh my God, if you're an athlete, sports betting terrible. But now it's like, what are your thoughts? Are we looking at it wrong, or are we thinking that because they're athletes are going to be able to contain themselves?
No, it's because they're athletes. I don't have any issue with gambling. I mean, gambling's been out here since the dawn of times, but I don't think the players should be. I just think there's a lot of conflict of interest there. I think it could get
I'm not scared.
A little greasy.
I'm not scared because I think everyone knows don't be Pete Rose. I think in every sport there's the thought don't be Pete Rose. Don't be Pete Rose.
Say I'm a player on the Magic, and I know that we are not trying to win. And I see my win-loss at 31, and I'm like, or I'm on the Rockets. We're not reaching 31.
So you're saying like bet like a season win total?
I'm just saying I think players already – I think there's going to be – it's not like no player in the NBA bets right now. Like
I think players should be able to bet not on their sport. They should be able to bet on, like, if you're an NBA player, you can bet on every sport except NBA. You could bet on like Olympic basketball if you're like not playing or some shit. But my best, what was the best tweet the other day when someone was ripping Calvin Ridley for like making a sports bet and like, all this, and then he's like, nah, bro. He's like, I've learned from my mistake. And he's like, but I did win $32,000 was like the end of the tweet. It was just like, he's like, I'm remorseful of this. He's like, but hold up. I did win $32,000. It's just
it's like Calvin Ridley is not the only NFL player throwing bets on the table. So
didn't he not even bet on NFL games? He bet on other shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't even think he bet NFL. I think maybe he did bet NFL. I know he didn't bet on his team.
That was the big thing. He didn't bet
That's
on his
good.
team. He didn't
They
bet on
gave him a year. They slapped him for a year. Jeez.
I'm trying to think what else. I do like the third two-way contract. They brought in another two-way contract because we all agree the two-way contracts have been fantastic. Ish Wainwright's an example of that. Alex Caruso, Austin Reeves, big names that the two ways work. I think that's a great way to develop talent and scour talent. I'm trying to think. Okay, so they did keep the 50 games. So right here, I want to say the new CBA, on one such penalty, the team will lose the ability to sign up, a taxpayer mid-level exception. So, teams like the Warriors and Clippers who have been like feasting off of that, they're going to lose that. So for me, I think the most interesting thing will be the in-season tournament because it'll be soccer style. So we're not going to have any added games except one added game. So if you make it to the finale of the in-season tournament, you will have played 83 games.
Yeah, they saved it with that. If they added, just 5 games out of the blue, I think no one would really care. It's almost like it's almost like the All-Star game to me. Like none of the players care about the incentive of winning the All-Star game or all the money that's at stake. Like you could throw the winner of the All-Star dunk contest money, and they're like,
what if
not really worth it for me?
What if you do, instead of an All-Star game, All-Star weekend, you replace the All-Star game with the in-season tournament championship game? And you still have the rising star and the dunk and 3-point contest, but instead of an All-Star game, you just have the All-Star players go there, stand on the court, wave, say hi, we're an All-Star, maybe do a skills challenge, and then the actual game is the championship game, in-season championship game where the players are playing for $500,000 each.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be like. I'm at face value, I'm not a huge fan of any in-season tournament because it's not soccer. I don't think any of these players, the top dogs, really care. I don't think Jason Tatum cares about winning $500,000 to win the in-season tournament.
Well, are you a soccer fan? Do you follow Premier League?
No.
All right, so I'm getting back into it. I got a couple of boys who are really into Premier League. So a lot of times when I go hang out with them, they have Premier League on during the day because it's usually on during the day. Yeah. And so I'll watch it with them. And I used to want to be a professional soccer player. I was really good growing up. I used to spend my summers in Argentina, and I stopped playing soccer because at 12 I was playing U15 soccer in America. And I was playing, with kids 3 years older than me. And I went to play in Argentina, who my cousin was on a club team, and I got destroyed, and I quit soccer because I was I'm never going to be I got destroyed by these Argentine players because I thought I was so good in America, but then I go to Argentina, I was below average, and I was I'm never playing professionally. But that's here nor there. What I'm talking about is the in-season cups in professional soccer and association football is really exciting because even though it's considered also a regular season match, it's also that league cup tournament. I think the Premier League, it's called the FA Cup, and it's technically part of your regular season and it counts towards your standings in the regular season, but it's also the FA Cup, so it's an additional money you can get, and players love that shit because you got 3 different places you're getting revenue from. So for guys who are on two-way contracts or vet mins, that $500,000, baby, it's half their salary in 5 games.
Yeah, it's just Premier League is less than half of what an NBA season is. So if the NBA season was 38 like the Premier League, then yeah, I think an in-season tournament is better. There's more rivalry within soccer. There's more rivalry within Premier League games. Basketball in an NBA season, there's 10 games that actually are that you actually want to watch.
I know, but I think this drums up that competitiveness.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's just take my Bulls for an example. I don't know. I can't think of a single team we would play right now where it's we're starting to see it with a team like maybe Golden State and Memphis. We lost rivalries. Rivalries aren't really much of a thing for the NBA anymore. We're, in the 90s, if you're playing the Detroit Pistons in a regular season game, all Bulls and Pistons fans, everyone's watching that game. I'm down to try it because they're not adding more games or one game for the champion. But and yeah, you're right. Like the smaller fish, 100%. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, and I think it is something that we'll just have to wait and see. It's a wait and see thing. We don't know how it'll be. But
Yeah.
I'm done with CBA talk. We can sit here and talk about it, but a lot of the stuff that's here, we can't talk about it besides the fact of speculation because we won't know until it's implemented.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot here if you're cool with that.
Yeah, it's the last week of basketball.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then one thing we're going to start next week is I want to start once the season's officially over, we'll do a off-season prediction for every team that's officially out of the playoffs for play-in. So I think it's like 6 or 8 teams that are the lottery teams will be like, they're going to be in the lottery. What do we expect from them this offseason? And like do like a whole off-season prediction on how to fix the teams. I do that. I've done that the last 2 years on my personal channel, and like they always get like thousands of views because people like off season, because I call them the off season predictions / expectations. Pretty simple topic. You just sit there and you say these are the expiring contracts. This is what they need to address. These are some players that they should maybe look at.
Yeah, it's just the playoffs are on.
Yeah, I know, but you make these videos for the fans of teams aren't in the playoffs. And then we'll also do our playoff series predictions at the same time, which also those get thousands of views. I used to do, as soon as a playoff series would end, I would make a video. By the morning, it would have like 3,000 views.
Yeah, playoff, even just like game previews in the playoffs do well.
Yeah.
Especially the first game.
The Lakers might be the 5th seed.
Yeah, what's Golden State got 2 or 3 left on the road?
I think it's a half game now. The Lakers are a half game behind the 5th or 6th seed.
Yeah, because Clippers and Dubs are tied at 11.5. Yeah, I think the Lakers are at 12.
12, yeah.
And the 9-30 road Warriors, I think 2 of their last 3 are on the road. So the Lakers, man, they're really good. They're missing piece, Mr. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. This man is playing like a top 5 NBA player in the league. And I keep saying it, man. This Lakers team, if they're healthy, I don't see why they can't make the NBA Finals. I really don't.
Anthony Davis says, fuck it. He's like, I'm going to have a broken leg to be taken off this court.
It's exactly, and this is what we talked about, a month ago whenever AD came back, where it's like, all right, Anthony, you have 2 months left. And that feels very reminiscent of the 2020 COVID playoffs, where all they need is Mr. Davis to stay healthy for 6 weeks. And man, I always say Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 undisputed player in the league because of his offense and defense. And sometimes it takes him a little bit. I know Darvin Ham, like there will be a game where Anthony Davis will have 8 points, 4 attempts in the first half. Then the next half he'll drop 20 plus, and Darvin Ham in the presser will be like, yeah, his dumbass coach didn't call him any plays in the first half. So it's a healthy LeBron and AD. AD is probably the best. I know, Kyrie fans won't love this, but it's probably the best duo LeBron's ever had.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is the other thing I want to say right here is shout out Austin Reeves for really, stepping up this season. Second thing is Rui Hachimura, as a Wizards fans, fuck you. But second off, Rui Hachimura, it's just they have these guys, like a good mix of guys. You got Jared Vanderbilt, who's been is part of the reason why this team's been the best defensive team in the league since trade deadline. Troy Brown Jr., another great defender. Malik Beasley, comes in and shoots threes. You got Dennis, they got these guys where, they got a good mix of microwave players, guys who are, hustlers, guys who, just know their role. It's weird. It's
I'm telling you, man. They're deep. So, yeah, basically they're deep now. And I'm telling you, dude, when Mo Bamba comes back.
I was about to ask. What do you think, Mo Bamba?
Huge for this team, dude. A 3-and-D big.
Okay, who hasn't played for him?
Oh, my God. I know Mo Bamba, his motor, blah, blah, blah. That's the thing. It's not a starting Mo Bamba on the Magic where we need him to play 30-plus minutes and do his thing. I need 20 minutes from Mr. Bamba.
Well, they were playing him 12 a night when he was healthy.
I need 15 from Mo Bamba. Give me 15 minutes of Mo Bamba, even 12 minutes of Mo Bamba. I mean, you're seeing it with this bench. They're a really deep team, man. Goat James, he'll win a 5th ring, and it could be this year.
Yeah, so
He'll
I'm trying
finish
to
with
see if
5.
3 weeks ago they said Mo Bamba was out at least 4 weeks. So maybe next week we'll see, or this week we'll see Mo Bamba return. I mean, look, we got the Lakers. I want to pull up the Lakers schedule real quick. It's 4 games left. For most teams, there's 4 games left in the NBA season. I think for the Lakers, they have 5. No, they have 3 or 4.
I think it's 4. They play. Who do they
Yeah,
play
they're-
on Tuesday?
They play on
I was just looking
Tuesday.
at this.
They play Jazz. The Jazz.
Okay, Jazz. They got the Clippers, right?
And then they got the Suns and Jazz again.
That's right.
Okay, if they can walk, I mean, I think they need to go 4-0. Better safe than sorry right here, which is very possible. They have to beat the Clippers. They have to beat the Clippers. I think beating the Clippers is a must. Right?
Yeah, I think if they lose a game, would you say they play Phoenix?
What do you
2
mean?
Jazz, Clippers.
2 Jazz, Clippers, 1 Phoenix, 1 Clip. Wait,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
So if you go 3-1 and your losses to the Suns, you're 60. That Clippers game's a
Or
biggest
your
one.
yeah. Or your losses to Jazz one time.
Yeah, I don't want to lose to the Jazz one time. I gotta beat the Clippers. I gotta beat the Jazz both times. They're out of the playoffs. You gotta beat that. You gotta win those games. The Suns, I can understand. Suns can be interesting with KD dropping 30s now, but
Yeah, Warriors
the
play
Lakers
the
go 3-1.
Thunder.
I think
I think they can do this. The Warriors play the Thunder, Kings, and Blazers to close out the season. The Warriors are going to lose 1 game. Okay, I'm sorry to say that if you're a Warriors fan. I look at this and I'm like, the Warriors will lose 1 game. Next up, you got the other team that's in front of them, the Clippers. I think if you can beat the Clippers also play the Blazers and the Suns. I think the Clippers will go 1-2 in there. I really think you gotta finish out strong.
Yeah.
Give me a double cheese dressed like a Mac. I don't understand that reference. I don't get it. Thomas Perry, you might have to explain that one, buddy. But can we talk about another team who's low key been surging? Give me your closing thoughts on the Lakers or
Finals.
All right, I think they're starting to get hot, and if they can make it to the 6th seed, Sacramento. I know you've had a great year, but watch out.
Yeah.
Like
Teams want that 6th seed. The 8th seed's not even bad, man.
Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans. Is this team going to be scary if Zion Williamson truly does come back for the playoffs?
Definitely.
But what is their ceiling if they are fully healthy? Because their current standing is the 8th seed. They're tied with the Lakers for being a half game back from the 5th seed. And like they're in, unless they completely fall out and lose these last 4 games, they should at least be a play-in team.
Yeah. I don't think you want to play Memphis, so that worries me. I think teams might even be looking at the plan right now and thinking, a team like the Pelicans lose, say if season ends today and you lose to the Lakers in the first game and then you win your second one and you play Denver.
Mm-hmm.
That series could go. We hear all this talk about, Denver, number 1 seed in the West, Jokic. I take a look at history and I'm thinking to myself, Denver's never won before.
Wow.
Grizzlies have never won before. That's like the thing with the West is it's completely wide open. Even the Suns have their issues. So I think, if you're New Orleans, you want a top 6 seed, but you probably want the 8th seed rather than the 7th seed, but they're still going to take the 7th seed if they get the 7th seed. And, Zion or no Zion, they're still a really good team with Mr. B.I. doing his thing and CJ. And, they got some depth with Richardson at the deadline there. Herc Jones, Trey Murphy. They're a hot team. That's what it's about, being in the playoffs. The last couple of weeks, you want to be hot, firing in all cylinders, and that's what the Pelicans are getting to. So no matter who they play in the first round, if they're in the first round, they're going to keep it fun. We'll see what Zion, fingers crossed on Zion coming back. I think if he comes back, I don't think the Pelicans will get out of the second round, but I think that's perfectly cool. That's still a lot of momentum heading into the offseason there with all the injuries they sustained. Zion, to CJ missed a huge chunk of the year.
Mm-hmm.
A second round playoff appearance would be a continual step in the right direction.
And especially from all the injuries and all the turmoil and chaos that they've suffered, like it has not been an easy road for this team. So I agree. I think it'd be huge if they were able to get themselves another playoff, or especially if they can go in and let's say if they do play the Sacramento Kings as a 6th seed, or if they do play, I think the Grizzlies are the 2nd seed right now, and the 1st seed's the Nuggets. So, and they shock somebody, and even if they are a second round exit, if they could shock somebody in the 1st round, I think that's a really good momentum, especially if Zion Williamson is there to help them shock somebody.
Yeah.
And I just think you want to get as many playoff experience as you can, get as much, games that matter experience. I think that's why the Oklahoma City Thunder are really making this strong push to make it into the playoffs, so their guys get those reps in games that matter.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that is a big one. Anything else you want to say? Is there any weakness you want to look at this team? I think the only weakness for this team is inconsistency. Some nights it just doesn't look like everyone's firing on the same cylinders, either it be Herb Jones or Trey Murphy or CJ McCollum or Jonas Valanciunas. And the weird thing with Jonas Valanciunas, some nights they can't even play him. They have that Steven Adams problem where Jonas can only play 17 minutes.
Yeah. They don't take too many threes. They're a good 3-point shooting team. They don't take too many threes. If New Orleans can get out of the 1st round, I think with what they went through this year, it's a huge success for them. But like last year against Phoenix, even if you get that 7 seed against Memphis, you take them to 6 or 7. It just kind of is what it is. Injuries happen.
No, I agree. Anything else you'd like to say before we switch to our final topic I want to talk about?
No.
All right. What did you say?
Lottery odds. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So right here, this is the lottery odds as of right now. The Detroit Pistons, Houston Rockets, and the San Antonio Spurs have the best 3 odds of winning the lottery. All right. And Charlotte have the 4th, then Portland. With, I believe it was a team actually we discussed last night, or was it Dallas? No, it was Portland. I don't even know. What team owes a team they're a top 10, a pick, their 1st round pick this year, and if they miss the playoffs, they get to keep the pick and they can use that pick to trade. So I'm trying to think of what team this is. I made a video on them last night, but right here, as we get closer to the lottery, to the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, who do you think is going to get themselves Victor Wembanyama? And it's I believe the Toronto Raptors, who have a top 10 pick. If they miss the playoffs and get a top 10 pick, they get to keep their pick.
Oh, really? Is that the Thaddy trade?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's the trade to Chicago. If the Raptors are able to keep a top 10 pick, it doesn't go to Chicago, I believe.
I don't think we get Toronto's first.
Okay, then I think it might be Dallas. It's one of the teams that was hoping to be a playoff team. And if they don't make the playoffs, they keep their pick if they're a top 10 team because it's top 10 protected.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know who's getting Vic. That's the thing. Who fucking knows? But I'm more thinking about Scoot, honestly. I really want Scoot on the Rockets. So,
do you think Brandon Miller's stock went down with the?
Yeah, but who's taking it? Who's taking his stock? I don't think anybody's taking his stock. Brandon Miller's still a good basketball player. He fits what you want in the NBA so perfectly. So I don't think he could have thrown up 3 0-point games. I think someone will still take him at 3, and I think that's what they should do. Brandon Miller will be a good NBA player. Maybe he won't be a superstar, but there's certainly star potential there. He's probably more suited for NBA type of play than he is in college. And, even though he wasn't scoring good and he shot horribly, he's still affecting the game in other ways. So whoever gets Brandon Miller will be happy with it. But, I don't see the Thompson brothers, climbing up to 3. I think Brandon Miller's NCAA kind of kiboshed any teams are looking at taking him at number 2. I don't think that's as prevalent anymore. But I'd still be, Brandon Miller still, if he goes to 3 and Houston gets 3, I'm perfectly okay. I would love actually to take Brandon Miller.
So, no, you brought us some great points. And I want to talk about something real quick because there has been a video that came out about the Rockets saying that they're trying to pull a new James Harden in the sense that, you remember when James Harden left the Thunder because he wanted the minutes, wanted to be that guy?
Are you about to mention the name Jalen, finished by Brown?
Yes, so it has just came out that the Rockets are interested in Jaylen Brown, and they're going to make a run at Jaylen Brown similar that they did to James Harden. Let me play the video.
Got some insight in the Rockets organization. Bringing in veterans, they're going to do that. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to hear a lot of noise about Jaylen Brown. He wants out of Boston.
It's the same as Harden. Daryl Morey thought Harden had star-level ability, which he did.
There are guys in this rotation right now that are going to be bench players. They're not satisfied. I don't think Tillman is going to be afraid of Ime Udoka. Frank Vogel is a name. Frank Vogel is a guy who is going to have guys be accountable. Ime Udoka is going to be like that too. Kenny Atkinson is a name. These are some names that I'm hearing out of the organization anyway. They are going to emphasize defense a hell of a lot more. They're disgusted with this, not lack of effort, but lack of ability, quite frankly.
This guy needs to stop picking his ear. That's just
Man, I think the Rockets have the brightest future in the league. I really do. I love Coach Stephen Silas. He seems like one hell of a human being, and I feel really bad for him about the windy trash report. But, he's right. And you see the frustration with Silas, too, and a lot of it is a good reason. I think James Harden, I don't think he will be a Houston Rocket. I don't, these injury concerns, I don't even really want James Harden in general. If it happens, that'd be cool for the culture. But Jaylen Brown, I think, fits Houston perfectly. I really do. I think he would love it in Houston. Houston's a great city, 4th biggest in the U.S. And, we would definitely build around him, and you pair him up with Jalen Green, Şengün, maybe even Scoot. I do think, I don't think Nick Nurse will leave the Raptors. I don't think they'll fire him. I don't think Nick Nurse will be going anywhere. And so it leaves it to, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockets were to acquire Jaylen Brown and Ime Udoka. I think that is a match made in heaven. And, Ime is exactly what this Houston Rockets team, an accountable guy, a guy you respect, a guy you want to work hard for.
I personally think
Silas's demeanor is a little bit more lackadaisical. And I think with these young cats, you need a little bit more of a, no, this is how we're doing it. I'm giving you my all, so you need to give me your all. So,
no, I agree. Chris, you just missed it. We just watched the video from, I forget what outlet it was. I think it's an ESPN radio show, basically saying that not only the Rockets are more interested in Jaylen Brown than James Harden, and they want to bring Jaylen Brown in, similar to how James Harden was brought in from Oklahoma City Thunder, and that they're interested in not only Nick Nurse, but Ime Udoka and Kenny Atkinson and Frank Vogel. I personally believe Ime Udoka is going to Toronto, and then Nick Nurse will compete with. I think if
Nick Nurse ain't going anywhere.
I think Nick Nurse is. I think Nick Nurse is fed up with Masai Ujiri. But let's play a little game. You know what time it is?
Studied all weekend for this.
You did?
Yeah.
Feel that confident?
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Got like a dark hair right there.
I have like a white hair right here.
It's that time. Hurdle. This is Grant Williams.
No.
I can't even spell. Taller than 6'6". He is either a New York Knicks, a Philadelphia 76ers, a Brooklyn Nets, or I think a Toronto Raptor. He is a kid.
He's a youngin'.
Wait. Okay, so he's a forward. Fuck. Who's someone young? Do the Raptors have anyone young? Oh.
No.
So he's on the
okay.
Knicks, Nets, or Raptors.
Yeah, Mikal's a great guy.
Mikal?
I don't think he's that big necked though.
All right, so it's either a Knicks or a Raptor. Trevor Keels?
He will never be Trevor Keels.
He's not a free agent though.
And it'll also never be Trevor Keels. I mean,
Knicks or Raptor?
that's not RJ Barrett. Is it Obi Toppin? Might be Obi Toppin.
Is it Scotty Barnes?
That's wild. Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
That's so fucked up, dude. That's like not even Scotty Barnes.
Thomas, where the fuck are you?
Yeah, Scott Thomas, TP Alberts.
Oh man. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, Chris, if you want to watch this stream, either start at the 23-minute marker, or if you want to watch the Knicks interview, go start at the 0 minute. But we had a pre-recorded interview. Hey, yeah, TP, yeah, boys. Can we agree? Scotty Barnes in this picture looked like Grimace from.
Dude, this guy looks freaking huge.
He looked like a fat boy. Like he looked like
Scotty Barnes only works out neck.
Yeah, dude. Scotty Barnes, I thought eats like Kenny Lofton in the offseason. Like, dude, I thought this was like an obese boy. Look, this is how fat Scotty Barnes looked in that silhouette. That I thought his ass was like Grimace. Okay, I'm about to put a picture up of Grimace on the screen for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. This is who I thought Scotty Barnes looked so fucking fat that I thought this was like fucking Grimace. Also, can you hear my roommate's alarm?
No.
Okay, so one of my roommates is in ROTC, and he has like this fucking like siren. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's so faint though.
Yeah, it's way
so
louder. It's way louder than what you think it is. But most of the computer parts got here.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Any closing thoughts for today's show?
Go Balls. No basketball on tonight. Kind of excited. Got a
What?
little March Madness. Yeah, it might be because of March Madness. I don't really know.
It probably is because March
There's
Madness.
13 games yesterday. It was like, geez, dude.
There was a lot of games on last night, and like it did
let's
take
relax.
a lot of. Yeah, I like had to decide on what the fuck I was gonna make. Shout out to NBA Google Trends for like I just went on Google Trends and I was like, I typed in NBA last 4 hours and NBA past day, and I was like, all right, these are the 4 names that were most searched today. So I just like that's how I made my videos last night. I was like, whoever was the most searched.
Yeah, because a lot of those games yesterday, the team's trying to lose. A lot of teams trying to lose right now. Oh my god, that thing is loud now.
Is it getting loud? It gets louder. Yeah, it's a fucking annoying. But Hey, the computers are over here. I got the motherboards came in, the hard drives came in, the graphics cards came in. You know, I'm waiting for the processor, and I don't watch women's basketball. I don't give a fuck about women's basketball. I also don't know I don't even know who Angel Reese is. You know what? The only reason I know that LSU and Iowa were in that game was because of Clayton Clark. But I tell this all the time. It's not a sexist thing at all. Women's basketball is not the same game as men's basketball. It's a completely different style. It's almost a different sport. All right. And it's like a different style of basketball. And it goes back to the whole thing. I don't watch college sports because I watch the NBA, and it's because it's inferior basketball. So I don't know who the fuck Angel Reese is. I don't know who this LSU shit is. I don't care to watch. I don't care to find out. Good for them. I'm happy for them. But yeah, no idea. Is that the one that I saw? I did see that on Twitter. Was she the one? Is that who it is? Angel Reese was the one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then NBA Central put out like, They don't like me because I'm hood, I'm ghetto. No, I don't even know who you are. I don't even know who you are. I was like,
I don't know. I don't think people don't. Yeah, it's like just, I don't know. People getting upset at it, they're just probably lame.
Yeah, I was
like, I only like her. I love her actually because
I saw
Caitlin Clark's cool, but they beat the Cox. So like,
yeah, I don't know. One of my big thing is like I want women's sports to succeed, all that. I think women's basketball needs to change. They need if the ball is 7% smaller than a men's ball, the rim needs to be 7% lower than a men's rim, and other shit like that. And like they need to make the game more adapted to women because women are bow-legged, shit like that. It's all there, but I don't care. And I hate that like the NBA media is trying to like force feed me it because it makes
the game was on at like noon. Like the fuck are you doing? They don't.
I'm not watching that.
And tonight's game on it for me is 9:20 at night.
Yeah, mine's at 8:20.
9:20. I'm trying to be getting ready for bed at 9:20. Crazy.
All right, you got anything else to tell these beautiful people?
Go Bulls.
Go Bulls. Okay, this fucking alarm is fucking killing me. Like I'm like go fucking insane. But yeah, cheers. I have nothing else to say. It was an interesting week in the NBA weekend. And I guess this is our last week of regular season basketball. So let's have a good one. Let's enjoy it. And hopefully, I guess I want UConn to win this. Or I'll talk to you tomorrow, bud.